Hi, I'm Stacy. This is Walking in My Shoes, and we're loving my veteran. Give myself a minute here and get my notes here. So, today's topic, we've been talking about it all week, coming up is going to be on intimacy. And I'm trying to find all my notes here because I have like tons of them. This is probably going to be too much to do in one 30-minute session, so just going to give everybody a heads up. Go to the website www.lovingmyveteran.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. It's on the homepage. The newsletter will be coming out this afternoon with lots more information. And if we don't get everything covered this morning, I'll do some more videos that we'll post on the website just so we're kind of all on the same thing. I'm going to be on the taboo list. Tomorrow we're going to talk about sex with a veteran and some of the issues that come on about with sex and our veteran. Good morning, Sunny. So we're going to talk about intimacy this morning. The actual first thing you have to understand about intimacy is intimacy and sex are not the same thing. Okay, intimacy and sex are not the same thing. Sex is a physical act. Intimacy is a very emotional action. So you can have intimacy and sex, and that they can go hand in hand and that line can cross. But intimacy is something that is separate from that. And we find that when we talk about intimate relationships. I have friends that I've had my entire life. I think about my friend Erin. Erin and I have known each other since I was in first grade, and you understand I'm 54, so that means I've probably known her 49 years, 48 years. So intimacy, morning show. Intimacy, Erin and I have a very intimate relationship. We're friends. We talk about everything. We've known each other for 40 plus years. So yes, we have a very intimate relationship. I have an intimate relationship with my children. I have two children. I have a relationship with Seth that is different from my relationship with David. Therefore, we find that intimacy. Good morning, Roxana. I have that intimacy in my relationship. I have friends that I'm very close to. Michelle and I are very good friends out of this. Michelle and I have a very intimate relationship. I can say things to her that I'm not going to say to anybody else, that Michelle will understand, and she can say things back to me that I'm not going to say to anybody else that I'll understand, and that is an intimate relationship. So we have those relationships that are more than just sexual. So you have to understand that intimacy and sex are not the same thing. But when it comes to our veterans with PTSD, they have a hard time committing to intimacy. And what is it? And what do we have? I think about my grandparents. They've been married before my grandfather died almost 70 years. And they were in love the day he died more than they were the day they got married. And I'm not, I just put things out, no filter. I can assure you my granddaddy's parts did not work the same way in his 80s that they worked in his 20s when he got married. But how come they were closer? Is because of that intimate relationship. And we all strive for that. We all strive for this intimacy. Well, there's some things that you have to understand about intimacy. Most of our veterans with PTSD suffer from a fear of that intimacy. They don't want to share that emotional closeness. They're afraid of that emotional closeness because of things that have happened to them while they were serving when they got PTSD. You don't want to be close to people. Why? Because the people they were close to over there died. Some of them died. Some of them committed suicide later. So if you become too intimate with somebody, you have that fear of that closeness. Most of them actually want intimacy. But there's a fear if you get too close, they push away. Morning, Kim. So you have to be very careful when you start thinking about their mindsets. Why do they push me away? Well, they're afraid of that intimacy that goes on. And sometimes they become so afraid of that intimacy that they sabotage their relationships. How many times have we all been in a great place with our veteran and we're doing well and things are going well and everything is wonderful? And I see this all the time in support groups. We've been married for so long, things are doing great, and all of a sudden, out of a clear blue, he says he wants a divorce. We've gotten along better than ever. We're holding hands, we're talking, we're committing, he's sharing, he's opening up, and now he walks in and tells me he wants to leave. That fear of commitment, that fear of intimacy, that fear. Why? So there's things that you have to be able to do to be intimate. You have to be able to share your thoughts. Okay? You have to be able to share your innermost feelings. You have to understand that you have to be able to share yourself. And because we have this idea that intimacy is sexual, if they can't perform sexually, and I'm just going to throw this out, and this will be really in tomorrow's topic, but are you aware that veterans, not counting veterans with PTSD, just veterans in general, are 30 times higher to have a sexual dysfunction than non-veterans. 30 times higher to have some form of sexual dysfunction than non-veterans. So if they can't share that sexualness, that creates problems with their intimacy. Can't share experiences. Michelle and I are great friends. We're friends because we share our PTSD experiences and we're very close. If we couldn't share them with each other, we would not have that same intimate friendship that I have with somebody else. I don't have that intimate friendship with my friends that don't live with somebody with PTSD. So if they can't share their experience, it's tough. They have a fear of vulnerability, feeling vulnerable, and that is a whole new topic that we will discuss way later. But they have this fear of being vulnerable. They don't want to become too close. If they become too close and love and focus on something else, it allows them to let their guard down. So their guard down to protect us, their guard down that they are too close and that they're going to get hurt. Good morning, Erica. Those are their issues. Now, what causes this? They have fear of abandonment. Our veterans suffer from fear of abandonment. How many of our veterans have lost somebody? Whether they watched them lose their life in combat or whether they committed suicide after the fact, how many of our veterans have lost somebody they were close to? So they have that fear of abandonment. They have that fear of being controlled. They want the ultimate control. So if they let somebody else into their life, then what happens? We control aspects of their life. And so their intimacy level goes away. And that helps go is part of the cause of getting rid of intimacy. Well, this becomes that fine line we cross as the caregiver. When we become the caregiver and step out of the role as the partner, we control things like, did you take your medicine? Have you gone to your appointment? Did you schedule this? Did you do that? Now we're becoming controlling. When, not that we shouldn't, but we again become controlling in that aspect because that's what we have to do sometimes. So that fear of being controlled and then emotionally letting you in if you're controlling them is tough. So that's another thing. They have very low self-esteem. So they have fear of judgment, fear of being of us evaluating them and making judgments towards them, and fear of rejection. That's why their social skills a lot of times are not as good. We can't take them. It's hard to go out with a group of our friends that we've had prior to this relationship and say, oh, let's just go have a drink, have dinner, or play cards. Because what if they don't like them? So sometimes you'll find your veteran overcompensating and trying to be liked more because of that intimacy. So these signs that this is happening, that this intimacy issues are happening is Things are going good, you run into this wall and they start to push you away. We've talked about that. Um, Intimacy is an evolution. So we made you really well in developing intimacy with our partners, and then we end up going back to the beginning. Something happens that causes us to go back to that beginning. They don't feel that they deserve to be loved. So we're going through this great time, and all of a sudden a date arises for them, and now they're feeling unworthy of love, and guess what? We start all over again. So that explains a lot that I know that there's people who are having a good relationship, and things are starting to go a certain way, and then all of a sudden it's like, who, stop, put the brakes on. I'm gonna not talk to you on the phone. I'm gonna hide from you. I'm not gonna engage. I'm gonna move out. I'm gonna do this. So they push back because they've hit that wall, and all of a sudden you're too close, and it kind of scares them, and they have to reevaluate too, that they're not good enough. So they also have a very difficult time in expressing their needs, and we have a difficult time in expressing our needs. So if we want to be intimate with somebody, we express our needs to them. Okay? We are not mind readers. They are not mind readers. If you need a hug, or you want them to hold your hand, or you just want to sit close enough to them on the couch, you have to tell them they can't read what's in your mind. Just like you can't read what's in theirs. There are times that I watch Carl struggle with something going on in his life, and I will go and want to put my arms around him and just hold him tight and just let him know everything is okay. And there are times that he just doesn't want to be touched because of whatever's going on. Well, it used to be this whole pulling away and shutting down. Now, because of communication, we've learned to talk, and he says, I'm not in a place for this right now. So we're learning that communication, so that does happen. When we're not fulfilling their needs, they feel unworthy. And we think we know what their needs are. We don't. We don't read their minds. Communication. Ask a little bit about what is part of your need. What is part of the stuff that you desire. You have to communicate. Communication is key to everything. Sabotaging relationships. We do that without realizing that we are sabotaging our relationship with them. We already know that PTSD veterans feel unworthy, right? So we get very nitpicky about things, little things, and it's over and over and over and over again. Well, I asked you to do, and you gave them this list, and they only did 2 things on the list. Or why didn't you put this away this way? Or why didn't you cook dinner this way? Or why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I only asked you to do this and you couldn't do any of it. Well, they may have done some, but we say you didn't do any of it. We say hurtful things. I'm going to share this. We had a disagreement. We were having a conversation that became a disagreement. I had this knee-jerk reaction, which I am famous for. I need a shirt that says I'm an idiot and I have knee-jerk reactions, okay? And in the course of this discussion that has now turned into a little argument time thing, I just spit out the worst, most hateful things possible. What does that do to our intimacy? It totally blows it out of the water, because there are 7 rules to intimacy, and I blew them one. Trust. When I start saying hurtful things, it becomes very distrustful. Sometimes they will accuse us of things that we haven't done, which blows our intimacy out of the water. Sometimes we say things to them that we say they haven't done, and they think they have, or in their mind they have, and now we're back to this accusation thing, and it blows intimacy completely out of the water. Physical contact. We have this concept that it's all or none. We have this concept that it's all or none. If you're going to love me, it's going to be completely and totally mind, body, spirit, soul. You're going to touch me. We're going to talk about how to cultivate intimacy, Miss Sunny. Yeah. They, yeah, if they don't engage, it will come. Intimacy is not an overnight cure. It is not a we will fix it today. It is not gonna happen overnight. We develop relationships over time, and that will come up. Um, so let me get into some of these other things. Let me talk about there are 7 issues. I told you I have all these things. 7 factors that affect intimacy. One is trust. When we do something or they do something that blows our trust, it creates issues in intimacy. Okay? So if we do something or they do something that stops our trust, it creates an issue with intimacy. And maybe something we didn't even think about or they didn't think about. But if it happens, that trust is required for intimacy. And if either of the two parties do something that creates distrust, you're going to lose going forward with intimacy. For a while, you can get them back. This is even harder when the veteran with PTSD doesn't always have the ability to do this. So that's where we're going to find ways to overcome this. Acceptance. We have to accept them for who they are without judgment. We have to accept them for who they are without judgment. They have to accept us for who we are without judgment. That will create intimacy. How hard is that when they get in a mood and they get in a place and it's, you're an effing bitch, you're a cunt, you're this, you're stupid, you're that. Now what happens? That is all blown out of the water, and that intimacy that we're longing for is now distanced. Same thing in reverse. You're this, you're that. We do it. We don't realize it, but we all do it. All humans do it. And this is not just about a veteran issue. This is not just about a PTSD issue. This is a relationship issue that we go further. Honesty goes hand in hand with intimacy. If you cannot be honest, you cannot be intimate. If you cannot be honest, you cannot be intimate. So if you are doing things with your veteran and you don't want to do them, it's okay, honey. They know that when you say, it's okay, honey, you don't really mean it. And now the wall's there. Okay? Now the wall's there. Same thing in reverse. When we do something and we want honesty from them, look, can you do this for me today? And they're like, oh yeah, I got this. And they don't. We lose that honesty. Honesty and intimacy go hand in hand. So we have to find that honesty. And sometimes it's going to come in the form of getting naked and vulnerable. So there's so much more to this topic that we cannot cover in 30 minutes. So there'll be a lot more coming out that will really help y'all as we go through this. Safety. They have to feel safe. They have to feel safe. Veterans do not feel safe. Veterans suffering from PTSD a lot of times do not feel safe. We'll have these veterans. I know that when Carl gets in a place sometimes, he wants to take his blanket and go outside. That's where he feels safe sometimes. I know there's somebody watching this whose veteran would just as soon sleep outside sometimes. Because that's the space they feel safe in. Learning to leave their home, it's tough, but sometimes they don't, because this is where they feel safe. And then when we bring in or into the safe zone comes the negativity of this world, and it happens. They don't feel safe, they feel on edge, they feel this, and what has now happened? The intimacy that we were developing is going away. It doesn't mean it won't come back, but be aware that those are all factors compassion. We have to feel cared about, and they have to feel cared about. Now, how hard is it for us to feel cared about when we have a veteran that does stuff to us that we don't feel like we matter to them at all? We are caring and loving and giving, and we do, in our mind, we are doing what they need, right? And we're giving so much of ourselves to them, and they don't reciprocate with that. And we don't necessarily have to be prompted to do that. We just do it. They don't read your mind. They don't read your mind. They've lived in a world where they followed orders. They lived in a world where they were told what to do to get an outcome. So that means we have to step out of our comfort zone and say, not bombardment. Remember, we've discussed this in the past. You can't give them a laundry list. But if you're sitting on the couch with them at night watching a movie, or they're playing a video game and they're very engaged in it because they're pushing their world back, why don't you just come in and sit down next to them and say, hey, I thought I'd come sit down today because I need you close. I need to feel you. Now, what have we done? We've taken the video game distance that we had, and we've told them we need to feel close, and we've let them stay in their comfort zone, and we've started breaking down that wall. Okay? Not that we have to do it all, but what you're going to see is every action has a reaction. So if we start to break down those walls, and we start to go out for that intimacy, and we start to ask for it, they're going to see it, and it's going to form a level of trust. And we already know that without trust and without honesty, we can't have intimacy. Okay, so that has to happen. Affection. Y'all, I'm sorry. Carl is the most amazing, wonderful, caring, loving man I've ever known. But my definition of affection at times and his definition of affection at times are two totally different affections. I mean, I know y'all watch him walk back and forth because of where my office is now. It's kind of like in a pathway. And you'll see him pat me on the head, or I was doing a group meeting one day and he came in and he kissed me on the head, and I'm thinking, God, you just get out of my space. And everybody that was there were like 15 people on this call, right? And they were like, oh my God, when he did that, it just melted my heart. And I'm like, I wanted him out of my space, right? That was affection. I don't see it as that. I didn't see it as that. I do now. But that's affection. So sometimes the affection is the little things, not the big thing, not the sex thing. It's the little stuff. Remember, go back to my grandparents who've been married 70 years. I assure you his heart didn't work the same way in his 80s as it did in his 20s. But they still had affection. On my news feed yesterday, one of the memories popped up was of George Bush's funeral. And his son said, when my mom died, my dad was there holding her hand lovingly, and the love that was in that room was insurmountable. That's affection. They weren't throwing down. He was loving her, and that was affection. That is what we long for, is that kind of affection. Communication. Communication or lack of communication is detrimental to every single relationship we have. Detrimental to every single relationship we have. It's done. If we don't do it right and we don't communicate clearly, it is detrimental. Think about them when they're in combat. If they were told the enemy's sitting over here, somewhere over here, y'all figure out how to take him out. Oh, and by the way, they failed to tell you that there's mines along the way, or that you're going to have to cross this river, or there's quicksand, or whatever it may be. If you just sent them out and said, go over here somewhere and get rid of this, not who the exact objective was, what's going to happen? How many times have, even go back to school or whatever, that we're asked to do a project, but if you don't give me the rules, yes, Sonny, you just keep trying and you keep showing up, because that is going to build all of these factors. Trust, acceptance, that you accept him for who he is, honesty, that you're not going anywhere. He has this feel of rejection. Safety, that you're coming to him on his space and his safe zone, and you respect that safe zone. Compassion, that you have it and you're giving it to him no matter what. Affection, no matter how much it is, and you know that you guys have it, because we already talked about him being comfortable enough to sleep. And communication. You are getting all 7 of those key factors, and you're proving it to him, even though he's not in a place where he can do that back. Absolutely. When you told us and shared with us the personalness of those stories and how he's opening up to you, sister, you are well on your way. It's going to be about him fixing it. Yes, ma'am. So, this is how we get to this intimacy. I can tell you how to rebuild it. There are all these steps in rebuilding it. Show your appreciation. Make an effort to learn each other. They're like an onion. We all are. You may know part of them today, but when you keep peeling, there's more there. We have to take it up. You got to know the outer layer and then just work your way in. But going right to the center isn't going to fix it. You got to know what got them there. How did they become the core of who they are? That's all matters to you. Setting aside time for each other. I don't do this well. I love loving my veteran. I love what we're accomplishing. I love talking to y'all. I love answering your stuff. But I let this control my life and come into my life 24/7. All right? Setting aside time for each other. You have to make them a priority. And so that's going to lead me to another topic I'll talk about in just a minute. Physical affection. If you are having sex with your veteran, now we'll talk about that a lot tomorrow, and some of the things that they can and cannot do. Mix it up. They make toys. You can buy them. Start using them if you need to. Buy some lingerie. Do something. Mix it up. Make them feel important. Having that affection. Physical affection without sex is also important. You have to be able to hold their hand. You have to be able to walk. We went to a Christmas festival and we stayed like way away from everybody because Carl's like my little plastic bubble that keeps people away from me. But as we're going through this, right? Yeah, son, you don't need to buy none, sister. Okay, I'm just saying. He held my hand as we walked through this, and that level of affection was amazing. It was amazing. And therefore, we became more intimate. I'm going to leave you on one thing, and this is absolutely, y'all, we could talk about intimacy forever. And I promise you, I will do a video today and post it to the website, and I'll let y'all know when it comes out. There'll be more of it in the newsletter that's coming out today. There's going to be blogs on it in the thing. We have to find our intimacy. And our intimacy with our veteran is different than our intimacy with anybody else. And their intimacy with us is different than their intimacy with anybody else. I've heard it say, and I've heard it hurt so many spouses, that our veterans are so intimate with their battle buddies that a lot of times they feel more closely connected to their battle buddies than us. We will never have that level or that type of intimacy with our veteran that they had with their battle buddy. We didn't go through the same things together. But on the flip side, they will never have that same intimacy or closeness with their battle buddy that they have with us. Because if you think all them people coming up in my house and getting on, that's not happening. Like, when I'm, sorry, just lighten it up a little. But it's okay to have intimacy at a different level with different people. You don't just have to be intimate with your spouse. Sexually intimate is one thing. But intimate as far as relationships go, you have them with your children, you have them with your parents, you have them with your friends, you have them. I have a very intimate personal relationship with God, but that's between me and God. That's not for me to preach to the rest of the world. That's between me and Him. That's our intimacy. I don't invite other people into that bubble. That's our bubble. And so we have them with different people. So your veteran is going to have the same in return. So I hope this was a little taste and help about learning about intimacy and trying to understand where it comes from and how it works. And like I said, we could probably, in hindsight, have talked about this topic all week and still only scratch the surface. So I will do some more videos that I will put on the website today. So let me have, in wrapping up, a few things. First of all, y'all know I love and appreciate everybody and where we're going in this community as just a community of people who love and support and uplift each other. Y'all are amazing, amazing. You're here because you love your veteran, and I find that being even more amazing. So there's a few things going on that I really need to, I had a meeting with a life coach and with a planner who's really helped me do this. One, setting aside time for each other is got to be my priority. And like I said, y'all don't know how much I love and appreciate Carl for letting me bring PTSD into our house every day, but I'm no longer bringing it in 24/7. So I'm good till like 6 o'clock Eastern time unless we schedule something past then. If you need something after 6 o'clock Eastern time, message me and I can schedule it for him. But after that, from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., I'm kind of going to be off limits. We're working on getting some people who want to monitor the groups. And yes, there is way more to intimacy than just the act of sex. Who want to help monitor groups that are on Mountain and Pacific time to kind of help with that. Again, I am always here for you. I can schedule appointments to you, but I'm making him my priority. Remember, this is loving my veteran, and I love him first and foremost. He is my everything. So that is out there. This week we will be reworking our website. There will be, I've been kind of backwards in this. We are coming off all social media other than Facebook. So if you're following us on Twitter or Instagram, that's kind of going to go away. We need to focus on one area, and our website will be the core of everything we have. So if you have not subscribed to the newsletter, please do that. I know there's a group there that we have not been super active in, but that group is going to just start to explode. So please join that group if you desire. Again, even in that group, we're going to have more videos and stuff. I am still doing the one-on-ones. Thanks, Kim. I'm still doing those one-on-ones. So if you need to schedule those one-on-ones, message me and we'll get those scheduled. So there is so much more coming up. Y'all don't forget Thursday night. Everybody go buy your gingerbread house kits, and we're going to build some gingerbread houses together on Let's Talk. It's just time we have a little bit of fun up in here. and not make everything so serious. Y'all are our friends and our extended family, and we've become very close to the people that do Let's Talk on Thursday night. So come do that with us and let's have a little holiday fun. Tomorrow we're going to talk about sex. I was laughing to Michelle this morning, and she's my sounding block. I'm probably going to get kicked out of my own group for saying some things that people may or may not want to hear. So that's going to be on there tomorrow. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to talk about the VA and some issues. And I'm actually going to do it from my iPad because on the computer it won't let me share the screen, but on my iPad it will. So if you've had an issue, a circumstance with the VA and want to share your story, good, bad, please message me so we can put you in either Wednesday or Thursday to share the screen and tell your story and how much you have to be an advocate, good, bad, or indifferent for your husband or your spouse or your partner and what you have found. There's a lot more going into it than that, but I think we need to hear each other's stories because it does help. So again, if you want to share the VA story, please message me so that you can tell your story and we can do it kind of together on Wednesday and Thursday. And Friday, we're going to kind of wrap it up about being their advocate. I kind of have that slotted, but if we need to go back to any topic we've already talked about, we may feel that we need to wrap up some more with intimacy or sex or whatever, we can do that on Friday. Again, thank y'all. Stay really active in these groups. We're going to really, because we're not going to be so diversified, spending more time in the groups. Again, I'm doing the newsletter this afternoon. So if you need more information, you want more information, that will be in the newsletter and on the website. But please go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. It's www.lovingmyveteran.com. The newsletter's on there. My blogs are on there. I'm kind of behind on those, so I'll be posting a bunch of those this week. And just kind of refocusing where we are just to help each other out. And if you're available Mountain or Pacific time and want to help monitor some groups, please let me know. Even on East Coast, if you want to be an admin on the group, we need some... we're growing and we need a little help occasionally. That is all I have for today. I know we ran late as usual, but thank you for being here. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we are Loving My Veteran. Y'all have a blessed day.